Jobe the human, aka the Lord of Nothing. A 50-year-old master of an abandoned castle. He's lived a full life of luxurious food and drink, greedily consuming and acting without concern of consequence. And he's dabbled in a bit of recreational homicide. But we're not here to talk about that. He's lied, cheated, and poisoned his way into title, wealth, and power. Though the title is nearly meaningless and the power middling. And really, it isn't that much wealth. Even still, for Jobe enough is never enough, and he wanted more. Not more stuff, but more life. Jobe couldn't accept his mortality. In a realm of gods, angels, and terrifying circuses, there must be a way, something he could do. To this end he journeyed, to somehow weasel his way into immortality. He made way to the dwarven capital of Cobalt Church, a conjoined volcano castle monstrosity that only a dwarf could call home. Here he could learn. The king's library was home to books from around the realm, and the tavern was grand and full of travellers. He perused and persuaded, talked and read, successfully, as he was greeted with stories of long-lived and ancient beings. Goblins, elves and dragons are born immortal. They can still die from sickness or injury, but never from old age. There existed individuals who, by dancing dangerously close to divine knowledge, achieved immortality and the ability to resurrect the dead. Their zombies were mostly meat puppets. One ran for mayor, so I guess technically they can be intelligent. Jobe learning this precluded any doubts. Jobe verified vampires were not just vulgar myth told to vex children home at night. Vampires are real, villainous and immortal. Vile creatures of the night who viciously feast on the blood of unsuspecting victims, imbued with vigor and most valuable to Jobe. Vampires are ageless. Jobe was tickled pink at all the possibilities. He searched east and west, north and south. He went town to town, searching, asking. He was about to set out for a Necromancer tower to the north, when in the mighty boots, the strangely named administrative building for the cherished metal municipality, the goblin monk Sinur Panadthafin casually drops that militia commander Reggie was a vampire, like it was nothing. Jobe had found his key to immortality. Jobe had discovered two primary ways of contracting vampirism: to profane a deity and be cursed, or to contract the syndrome via blood from an afflicted. Jobe didn't want the trouble of breaking statues. Too messy, too much work, and Jobe was lazy. He needed vampire blood. Jobe had considered numerous clever ways to achieve this. Luring animals to the affected, tricking the affected to fall on a sharp object, bringing those from enemy nations to spark a fight, even hiding in the corner and throwing a knife, hoping nobody notices. But the animals wouldn't suffer to follow Jobe. The soldiers were too preoccupied with each other, and Jobe wasn't very good at sneaking. But it was okay, because Jobe had another plan. He first asked Radi to trade, offering some coin for a pouch, which included a slicing knife. "I'll use it for cooking," Jobe lied, as he effortlessly disarmed Radi. Next, it was Jobe's oldest trick. He got Radi drunk, making him an easier target. As he waited for night, he kept giving Radi full cups, knowing that vampires don't sleep. When everybody except Jobe and Radi were finally asleep, Jobe knew it was time to enact the final part of his master plan, la crème de la crème. He took out a limestone rock and started brutally smashing Radi's foot. Jobe says, "You don't have to be smart, just successful." He says, results matter, not process. Radi ran out of confusion and fear as Jobe pursued, smashing on his foot when able. Jobe poured water on bits of blood spattered on the dirt, licking the bloody water dirt soup up. He felt nothing. How long does vampirism take to kick in? Not taking any chances, Jobe yeeted Radi's knife. It flew straight and true, penetrating Radi's leg with a splash, getting red gold everywhere. But still, Jobe was concerned that it wasn't enough. This was Jobe's eternal life at stake, and he might never have this opportunity again. So he kept to and carved deeper. Blood started pooling up. Jobe licked his lips and sucked the puddle directly, afterwards filling his flask, letting Radi limp away. After all, Jobe wasn't here to fight, and it wasn't personal. In fact, Jobe thought Radi was a nice guy. He sipped the flask and immediately felt it. He could see better, hear better. He felt stronger and faster, no longer frail and old, no longer bound by time. He began to sense the blood of people around him, feeling their heartbeats. Jobe the Eternal, Lord of Darkness. Thirsty. Forevermore.